Hi, welcome back to Follet, the video book. This video snippet, the third one in chapter 15, actually finish up the chapter, finds us once again back in the not safe for work or children category of these snippets. You kind of figured that was coming. So watch and listen and enjoy. Buy a copy of the book if you'd like to read it for yourself. I'll put a link in the comment section underneath this video so that you can do just that. But don't, whatever you do it at work or show it to the younger set. As sophisticated as they may try to convince you that they are, they're not. Not for this. Nope. Sorry. Oh well. Okay, we'll get to it. If you're ready, let's begin. Follet got out of the caddy and hiked back up the little road until he felt the call, this time coming from a little one-floor whitewashed dog trot house. A thicket of rose bushes occupied the front yard, and a great magnolia tree shaded the side of the house. Follet walked up the sidewalk and up 3 little steps to the porch that spanned the front of the house. He opened the door in the middle of the porch and found himself in a long breezeway-like open hall that ran completely through the middle of the house to the back, the dog trot. He saw 2 doors on the left side of the hallway and 2 doors on the right, 2 at the front and 2 at the back of the hallway. The door on the right was open, and Follet looked inside to find a living area that, at the back of the room, became a kitchen with a massive fireplace. He walked to the end of the hall and found a small staircase leading up to the right and a back door with a lean-to outside. He felt the dreamer's dream beginning and walked to the door on the left side of the breezeway. He opened the door and found another large room that ran from the front of the house to the back, with another massive fireplace mirroring the one in the kitchen on the other side of the hallway. On the exterior wall to the left of the fireplace was an antique circus poster, the Arabian Nights and Aladdin's Wonderful Lamp, as performed by the Imperial Burlesque Company. 3 buxom Victorian beauties in flowing and daring Eastern costumes, flanked by 2 equally exotic female genii, and an evilly grinning brass lamp with a steel blue imp perched on its handle. About 10 feet back from the fireplace, in the middle of the room, sat a large square mattress set on box springs, covered in gaily striped red and yellow fabric. On the bed lay the dreamer, a woman in her early 30s wearing a black leotard. She was soundly asleep, and her ash-brown hair fell around her peacefully dreaming face. At the other end of the room, a brass pole was set about 10 feet from the front wall, and about halfway between the pole and the bed, a ball-bearing swivel was set into the ceiling. 2 or 3 carabiners connected a figure-8 descender which held long purple ribbons folded over but quite wide that reached to the floor. And Follet felt the dream begin. Follet was naked. He walked over to the aerial silks that hung from the ceiling. He felt the woman behind him and knew to call her lady. He turned and saw that she was naked too. She had spent a long time in the sun with tan lines that showed that she preferred sleeveless shirts with open necks and hiking shorts. She had a crooked smile and bluish-gray eyes that twinkled. She walked toward him, stuck out her hand, and with her palm pushed him back a few steps. Follet let her push him, and as the heel of his right foot touched a pile of the purple fabric that had mounted on the floor, the silk reared like a snake and coiled itself around his leg. It moved up to wrap around his right thigh. Another soft tendril wrapped around his left thigh. "Sit," Lacey told him. Follet bent his knees carefully, expecting to crash to the floor, but the fabric held him like a chair. His thighs were now parallel to the floor, and as a third swath of purple moved behind his back, he found that he could lean back without falling. Lainey walked toward him slowly, and Follet found that her sinuous walk excited him. By the time she was close enough to reach out and touch his shoulder, he was completely erect, hard and gently throbbing. She put both hands on Follet's shoulders and lowered herself onto him, taking her left hand off of his shoulder to grab Follet's cock and direct it into her pussy as she sat. Her breasts were just within reach of his mouth. As Lainey sat further down on Follet's hardness, she let Follet's cock fill her and moved her hand back so that she could use both of her hands to lift her breasts, to let Follet kiss and lick and attempt to suck them one at a time into his mouth. Follet moved his right hand behind Lainey to cup her ass and play with the sensitive places behind her and where she impaled herself on his cock before rising and taking herself away. He used his left hand to reach around and hold her back, pushing her to him. Follett's face was pushed against Lacey's breast, his lips and tongue and teeth all finding a surfeit of sensuality in their pleasuring. Laney took him from above and increased the tempo of her thrusting. She moaned a little and began to pant, and Follett could feel her heart racing under her breasts as he kissed them. With a cry, Laney held Follett even closer, seeming to pull him further inside of her. As Laney stood up, letting Follett fall out of her, he felt his cum flow out of her onto his crotch. She beckoned for him to stand, and when he did, the purple silk slid from him and began to envelop her. They wrapped around her thighs and pulled her up a little higher than when she had mounted Follett. She laughed and swung back and forth like a little girl. Follett moved to her, still hard. Laney held onto the ribbons coming down from the ceiling and lay back, opening her legs to allow Follett entry. Follett held his cock in one hand and guided himself into her. Follett held the silks just above her thighs and moved her back and forth so that he could fuck her in a bouncing rhythm that allowed her to move away and to him as though they were flying through the air. A bit of fabric flew behind Laney to support her and allow her to use her hands for things other than supporting herself. With one hand she reached for Follett's torso and ran her fingertips from his chest down to the base of his cock, tickling, teasing, and touching him and bringing the sensations that drove him to new places. With her other hand she touched between her legs, fingertips feeling his cock sliding into her and then out of her again and again and again, the pads of her fingers touching herself and bringing herself closer and closer. Follett moved his right hand from the straps and let his fingers touch hers, rubbing between her thighs. Laney took his hand in hers and moved his fingers to her secret places, making his hand shake and quiver and tremble as she shuddered with one and then another paroxysm. Laney sat up to embrace Follett as the tremor rocked her. Follett held her carefully and felt Laney's vibrant body begin to droop, and the dream began to end, leaving Follett to watch the dreamer smile at something in her sleep as the purple silks flowed back into their places in reality. Follett opened the door at the front of the room carefully and blew a kiss to his sleeping lover. He let himself out and walked back in the morning sunshine to Mary.